This is David Medawar, and what we're going to talk about today is this little problem we tend to have sometimes called, why the hell do we try and fix other people when it actually ends up breaking ourselves? And this sounds like something that may hit close to home for you, and if it hasn't, I can tell you right now it has for me in the past, where we're like, oh gee, I'm going to go ahead and try and change you to be something you absolutely aren't. I don't like you the way you are, so for the sake of my own comfort and my own objective, why don't I have you change the habits you have, the way you look, fill in the blank, whatever the hell it is, and I want you to make it a purpose to appease me and be something I want you to be, because apparently you can't be your own individual, and I want to suffer and completely negate my own needs as well until I can somehow succeed into making you whatever the hell I want you to be. Doesn't that sound like a crock of shit? And if it doesn't sound good to you, then why do we do it, right? As far as the reasons for it, that's a topic for another video. But what I'd like to dive into in this video in particular is 3 of the problems we see when we try and fix others, and ultimately why it ends up leaving us broken, right? Before I jump into that list, if you like this channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you see on this video in particular, I would love to see that like button be clicked from you, and share with your friends if you'd like to. All right, so going into the list, the very first problem with trying to fix others is that, number 1, it's not genuine. We think we're doing a good service. Oh, I'm a kind person. Oh, I like to heal. I like to fix. I'm empathic, whatever you want to call it, right? And it can oftentimes have good intent behind it, but it's not genuine, because if we're just trying to appease the other person and we're just trying to make it all about their needs and completely negate what we want, we end up burning out, right? Because we're so uncomfortable with our own boundaries and what it is we want in life. When we make it all about the other person, first of all, it can be very smothering. Secondly, eventually they're going to pick up on it, right? And thirdly, it's not our job to fix people. I mean, let's just be honest. And so even though it seems like a nice gesture at heart, it really is not what we truly want to do down below, right? Because, and by down below, what I mean is within. Because if we were to be genuine and we were to have this ability to try and support somebody, but not at the expense of ourselves, we would really have what's called healthy interdependence versus codependence. Codependence meaning we essentially don't have a sense of our own self, and we're essentially enmeshed with the other person, and we have this fuzzy blur of what is exactly their identity and what's ours. And that gets into the second point of why this is a problem, why it leaves us broken, is that we don't have a sense of self. If we had a sense of our own needs, we wouldn't be exhausting ourselves trying to fill others up. And as an analogy, I want to show you a little demonstration of what your cup might look like, which would be this brown cup right here, and the other person, which is empty. So you'll probably notice that with this cup right here in particular, that you really can't tell where the water level is, and that's the point, because oftentimes what this issue stems from is we're not connected with ourselves within. We don't have our own sense of self, our own sense of boundaries. We don't really take ownership of what makes us happy. Perhaps we've been taught that our needs don't matter. And so we don't even really know where our own water level is. Sometimes we don't even know if we look at this glass as half full or half empty, or what it'll take to fill it. All we might know is that we just have some emptiness, whatever that depth may be, and we've made it our purpose to fill up somebody else's cup. And now somebody comes along and yeah, this cup looks all shiny and dandy, and it needs like a little top hat and a monocle to go with it because it looks like something out of I don't even know where I'm going with this, but anyways, getting back to topic, right? So something on the exterior might look really nice and aesthetically pleasing, but on the inside, it has a different objective of, hey, I'm actually empty. Maybe I can find some water from someone because I'm parched, I'm really thirsty. And so we don't know any better, and we start doing this, and guess what happens? We fill them up to whatever level we can. Perhaps they're still thirsty, maybe not as much. they start realizing, hey, you know what, Mr. Brown Cup, you don't really have any more water to give me. So I'm going to go and get the rest of this filled elsewhere or focus on me or whatever it might be. And now we're like, hey, wait a minute. Here I was trying to fill your cup up, and now I'm running on fumes. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. But maybe I don't have a sense of self and don't know how to say, you know what? Instead of completely pouring out, it could be something where it was back to this different scenario of, you know what, you look thirsty, I'm going to support you, I'll be by your side, but I also have a sense of my own self and I'm going to do my thing too. If you need anything, I'm here. But at the same time, I really have my own identity, you have yours, and we can live, harmoniously in balance. And that sounds easier said than done, right? Because if it were a perfect world, we wouldn't fall into this trap. And ultimately, what it comes down to is this last point, which is a lack of boundaries, right? When we have this intent to help others, sometimes we just don't know how to say no. And it's funny, in life, we tend to attract the opposite of whatever persona we're putting out there, right? So life constantly tries to balance itself. That's why oftentimes you have the whole adage that opposites attract. It's very true. You oftentimes see somebody that's a giver paired with somebody that's a taker. And so really ultimately what it comes down to is, if we want to change what it is we attract out there or the environment we're in or this problem at hand, we have to really look within and examine what kind of energy are we putting out there. And that's where the boundaries comes in. Well, if you don't really value yourself, why would you bother putting boundaries to begin with, right? And so this takes a lot of healing within and really having the comfort and confidence to be able to at some point say, you know what? I want to be by your side. I want to support you. But in terms of this particular thing you're asking for, I can't go to that extent because then I would essentially be violating my own truths or whatever it might be. And that's something for a future video, not really for this topic at hand. But ultimately, I want to challenge everybody to really examine, okay, do you find that somebody in your life right now is in a situation where you're having to fix them? Is this something you can relate to? Maybe you can drop a comment in the section below and you can share your thoughts with others and perhaps how you dealt with that and managed to essentially learn from it, right? Because that's really what life is. It gives us a lot of these lessons, and sometimes they'll come back and repeat until we get it. And that's when we can stop these cycles. So I hope this was very helpful to you. And can't wait to go to the beach in a week. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be putting out a video from San Diego, and I'll talk to you all soon. Later.